Catherine Beard, a Liberal Democrat MEP for the South East. What do you make of this situation, which has seen one of your constituents imprisoned in Russia?
Well, the longer it goes on, the more concerned I am. I think, like most of us thought, well, this is a little local spat and they'll send them home again and that will die down. This is not. It's escalating. It's getting much more serious. My constituent is now looking at 17 years in jail. He's got young children. The youngest one, I think, is 3. You're looking at coming out to see your children as grown adults. That's not acceptable. What they were doing there is speaking for the whole world to say that we are really, really concerned about oil drilling in such a vulnerable and delicate part of the planet.
Nonetheless, they were taking direct action, if I can call it that, and pushing the boundaries of the law, if not breaking the law. They must surely have expected the Russian authorities to do something.
Yeah, I think if you're going to board somebody else's ship, then you would expect to maybe get your knuckles wrapped and then sent home again. What the Russians have done have completely overreacted. They've actually impounded that ship, which even Putin is reported to have said is more of an act of piracy than the ones that the Greenpeace activists have done. What they were doing is boarding a ship from a dinghy. What the Russians have done have impounded that ship, including the staff that were on it, the captain, and locked them up and said that that's piracy. By any standards, international legal standards, that is wrong. And we are all getting very concerned that this is not de-escalating and it's not coming down. It seems to show all the signs of getting worse, and we really should be most concerned about that, because not only is it what they were protesting against worrying, and that's drilling in a very, very vulnerable part of the planet, but it is no way to deal with protesters or even a non-violent demonstration of concern, which is what all a free society is all about.
And I understand you've seen the ship firsthand. What's it like to see it up close? And you mentioned the Russians have impounded it. That would surely have been a very big operation given the scale of the ship.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they have overreacted and taken away, impounded a ship on the high seas, and that is against, as I understand it, all the laws of the sea. It is an impressive ship, and I was really privileged to be able to go aboard it earlier this year when it was visiting the south coast in support of fishery reforms that we voted through here in the Parliament. It's a working ship. It's stripped back. It's not a comfortable vessel to be on board, and they have the living quarters are not grand, but it's a flat-bottom boat. It's an icebreaker, so in rough seas it really feels the roughness of the seas. And having met these sailors personally and the captain, I feel more emotionally involved, but there's the emotion and the concern about my constituent and his shipmates and the journalists who were there just to report the actions. But it also, I have an emotional feeling because I know the ship and all that goes in behind all the work that Greenpeace does. It's had a difficult history, Greenpeace, with its ships, and I remember what happened to their ships down in the South Atlantic, and we must be very concerned that we thought we got over this sort of type of overreaction by a state.
There is a debate here in Europe on this very issue today. How important is that, and how important is the message that Europe could send from here to Russia?
Absolutely vital. We are all voicing our concern about their actions. We've had Nobel Peace laureates have written. Everybody who can is complaining, and I'm so pleased that the Parliament here, that's what we're here for, to speak up for our constituents, for free speech and the rule of law in Europe. And so we will be sending a clear message, I hope, today from the Parliament to the Russian people, to Mr. Putin, that this is overreacting in a most serious way, and to now let these people come home to their families.
And you mentioned that there's been complaints from various quarters already. For example, to the Russian ambassador in London, I understand is one person. How much weight, though, do you think a debate here in Europe carries, or a message that European Union as a whole could send to Russia, given the size and scale of the European Union and of trading and all the rest of it?
We are a very important trading partner with the Russian Federation. We need to send them a very clear, unambiguous message that this is not acceptable. If you want to trade with us, and the same goes around the world. We would prefer to trade, to speak, to work together in an open society. We only have one planet to live on. We have to protect that. We have to do what we can. And we'll only do that if we're all talking together. This sort of overreaction doesn't help. And so we need to, as Churchill would say, jaw, not war. So let's return these demonstrators, these Greenpeace activists, return them to their family, and then if there's an issue, we can talk about it.
Two final questions very briefly. One, the importance of the issue that the Greenpeace activists were actually raising, because I understand that this is something that you feel very strongly about. How important is it to make the case on Arctic oil, and do you feel they were going about it in the right way?
Protesters have to protest in whatever way they can. Certainly this has brought this to the right up the agenda. We have had huge concerns. We know what happens in an area like the Mexican Gulf when something goes wrong, and that was a very easy, calm water, good conditions, and warm water too, so that deals with the oil very quickly, and how much was escaped there. This drilling that they're doing now in the Arctic is bigger. It's in a very, very fragile environment. The cold weather there cannot break down the oil if anything is spilt. So we have to proceed there with the utmost caution if we really have to extract oil from the Arctic region. It has to be done super carefully. And the concern is that in the rush to get that oil, corners are being cut. And I mean, I'm not an extraction engineer, but I want to know, and I want to be able to feel that it is done super safe if we really absolutely have to take it from such a fragile environment.
And just finally, what do you think will happen next in this whole situation? Do you see a sign that it can be resolved? Things perhaps not looking too good right at the moment.
It doesn't look good at the moment, as they're all coming to in front of the courts. Their families are not able to contact them and speak to them. That's very difficult. I can't imagine what it must be like just to watch the television footage of your loved ones coming into court and not being able to speak to them. I know what I would like to happen. I would like them to be sent home. Mr. Putin could do that tomorrow. He could just sign a decree and say, okay, we drop the cases, send them all home. If there is an issue, then I'm sure we can talk from the European Union and talk to them about safety standards in the Arctic region when you're drilling. There has to be another way than locking up peaceful protesters.